This is really, I guess, in a year, our first time of, having a Monday after a loss, coming back to meet with the players and practice and stuff. So that's a new challenge, for our guys. And the biggest key is that, one loss, you don't allow it to move into more losses. So, I look at the game and, the final score, and you guys know I don't give coach speak, and I told them today, if you just look at the final score, you'd think, okay, well, they weren't ready to play. They came in and got dominated, and that wasn't the case. They started really well, didn't let the crowd affect them, and got up 17-3. And even after a lot of stuff, 4 minutes left in the third quarter, going into score, to take the lead, and really played really poorly for the next 19 minutes after, the interception. On all three phases, but especially offense and defense. So, we can't let that beat us again. We've got to learn from it. We've got to improve in certain areas. We had too many penalties, some poor decisions on ones, and I tell you guys, you got to understand stadiums you play in, crews that you have, and, there's certain crews that officiate games. I'm not complaining. We just have to understand what it is. So, like Alabama the week before was 17 penalties. And so we've got to do a better job with that, understanding all the things that go with that, and definitely finish games better than we did. So, huge, no time to sit around and mope with it. We're getting ready to go play probably one of the top 5 rosters in America. I think 8 5-star players a year ago, most ever. So these guys are ultra talented, and we're going to play one of the top 5 hardest places to play. So that's a combination, obviously, that makes you have to do a lot of things right in order to have a chance to win. So we got a lot of work to do this week, and got to get better.
After you talked to your team this morning, how did you think they responded at practice? What did you see?
Well, it was just a walkthrough, but I think they were good. Again, just pointed out, okay, here's the things early we did really well in the game, and then here's where we fell apart. And, just like when we play a really good 19 minutes, we can't let that define us and say, oh, we're great now. Just like when we play really bad 19 minutes, we can't let that, make us lose our confidence and we're no good all of a sudden. So, like I said, we got to do better in a lot of areas. Penalties, red zone, I think 2 of 5, only 2 touchdowns down there 5 times. That was, we did not run the ball like we would like to, and overplayed Q, because Zach wasn't available, and Bentley really was questionable and limited, so I think he played 71 plays or something like that. So that's not ideal, and hopefully we'll get healthy to help that, and we've just got to do a better job in a lot of areas.
Offensive line obviously struggled down there Saturday. Do you ever think maybe that perhaps some of the rotation within that group creates a little bit of consternation at times in terms of what they're doing?
No, we only rotated one guy, so I certainly don't think that has anything to do with it.
Lane, you guys responded really well last season after losses. I think it was 3 in a row after the first one, 4 in a row after the second one. Is there something kind of to be said about resetting and recalibrating after a loss?
Yeah, I think I've said it, when you play, really talented players in programs, they will expose certain areas. And it's why, when you play one of them super early or open with them, you learn more about issues that you have. And sometimes they can be hidden until you go play, one of, like I said last week, like a program like the next 3, and they make recruiting rankings for a reason, and obviously those have a lot to do with winning and draft picks. And so when you play really good players, you've got to do things really well, or you can't get away with some things you can versus some of the personnel we played early in the year.
told us Saturday you had a high level of concern with the defense after their performance, and you kind of sensed it after the way they struggled against Auburn. After watching 2 weeks of tape, what are you kind of seeing defensively? Is it a personnel, schematic? I mean, what do you feel like needs to kind of be adjusted there?
Well, we've got to tackle better. Certainly hasn't helped Cedric not being available at all 2 weeks ago and being very limited, and he tried to play but wasn't himself. And then when Troy, in both games, having to come out due to injuries, those are, two really significant players. So, but we've got to tackle better and limit explosive plays, which is what we had done really well early in the year. And, we showed them some film today just to make sure, like, hey, here's some out from 2 weeks ago, and how well, and 3 weeks ago, Kentucky game, and how well that we played and the energy that we played with and gang tackling. So it's not like we got to come up with it out of nowhere. We've done it.
You brought up the talent level at A&M. I'm curious, what are the growing pains like over there where, in your experience, when you have a very freshman-heavy team, what are the growing pains of getting those guys acclimated? And does it compare at all to a portal-heavy team with the two kind of different recruiting strategies?
I don't know that. I don't know if anybody does, because no one's, had a class like that he was able to sign. So you'd have to ask him that. But a lot of those guys play very significant snaps and are elite players. So, you'd have to ask him that.
A&M's had a pretty inconsistent season so far. What do you kind of see from their program from where it's at right now, and what mentality do you think they're going to have going into this game on Saturday?
Well, I think they'll be very excited to play, and they're coming home after being on the road for a long time. And their crowd's always, one of the hardest places to play in the country. So I'm sure they'll come and, be ready to get back on the winning track. And like Jimbo said, they were close in the game. It's not like they got blown out, and did some really good things to come back to make it a game in the end. And at times they've played great defense throughout the year. So it's going to be a big challenge.
And then as a fellow Taylor Swift fan, I have to ask, what do you think of her album, and do you have a favorite song off of it so far?
Well, I kind of feel like I shouldn't go into, which favorite song, because that'll start all the social media of why I picked that, because there is kind of a reason behind it. So I'll give it to you after a win, not a loss, because then you guys will write good things about it when I say it.
Hey, Lane, you referenced earlier that this is kind of new for this team, playing after a loss and whatnot. After you had pointed out to us things where y'all needed to improve and whatnot, but you kept winning, was there a little complacency among your guys?
I don't know. I don't want to magnify things just because you lose a game, just like I don't magnify that we're great because we win a game. So, but I said it, like you referred to, there were signs of these coming, whether it was, once we had to drop back some protection things and the tackling on defense and limiting easy completions and turning into explosive plays. So those were magnified, and that's what happens. When you go play really good players in a really hard environment, your weaknesses get magnified. So we're going to have the same thing this week if we don't fix it.
Did you think your guys kind of lacked a hard edge after LSU came back, those 19 minutes you were talking about?
I think that's fair. I think that's definitely a fair thing. Again, I don't give coach speak and just say no like everyone else does. I don't like how we responded after the, interception, which is why crowd noise is important and a factor. Just like we say we want it here, which we have the last couple games. The left tackles turn in to talk to the tight end, and the ball snapped, and his backer runs through and hits Jackson, so he can't throw the fade to Malik, and they get a interception. And then I do not like how we responded on offense or defense after that, especially late in the game, when we weren't going to win. But, you just don't, you never like that. That's obviously what we like to do, is run the ball at the end and finish the game out. And they did a great job of it.
You talked about the volume that Quinn Sean kind of had to play. If that has to happen again, is there a way to guard him against fatigue, or is that just a product of playing a lot of snaps?
Well, I think surprisingly, you know, when you watch, just like this is what, deal and facts, and, you know, when you watch, you actually don't see it. I mean, he's in the last series of the game, you know, and like showed the team, you know, the game doesn't matter at that point. So if you let the scoreboard affect how you play, you know, you're going to worry about getting hurt, you know, not finishing runs. And, you know, that last drive, he's running over a guy, you know, to get 2 extra yards. So I think he's just really special and was able to do that. Now, you can't do that every game. That'll eventually wear on you, but he's just a unique kid and unique mindset to be able to do that.
Did just having one running back alter the play calling strategy at all? Were you limited in what you could do with just Quinn Sean?
I mean, there's a little bit there, but, you know, we had really made a decision, you know, moving forward not to run the quarterback very much. So you didn't see him run very much in that game, nor moving forward, just from long-term, you know, thoughts with that. So obviously it would be nice to have the full healthy backfield when you do that. All right, thanks guys.